So let's start by just finding our body and sitting intentionally and just recognizing that entering the formal practice, maybe take a couple of breaths. Just right away here, in the first few seconds that we enter our practice, you might notice just physically if there's any tightness or whatever kind of issues that you feel like is happening in your body today. And then of course mentally, there might be issues or concerns or worries that we're holding in our thoughts. We recognize what the mind is obsessing about today. And as we recognize just emotionally, kind of the feeling tone, your attitude right now. And how every time we practice, it is kind of as we put everything down, it's like we're moving into a time of retreat. So in my email this week, I talked a little bit about how kind of human it is to experience a feeling of paralysis where we're very clear about things we want to be doing, things that need to be done, and we're just not quite doing it. And especially, in this time, the extended time of having this COVID virus present, it can be paralyzing. So I talked about all these ways that we could, if we notice this, first we kind of name it. And then all of the ways that you might find that you can overcome this. And what I found is that it's good to keep it simple. If you can, just getting up and maybe, doing something that is just simple, like doing the dishes um, or something like pleasant, like you might dance around a little bit or just go out and go in nature. So there's what I call the self-care, just something you do for yourself. And another way of getting over this is doing something for someone else. Like maybe you can think of a friend, a relative who could use a phone call, or maybe you go for a walk together, something like that. And this is no small thing. It sounds small, but I have found that it turns into like, this is not small. It really does just get the energy moving. So this week, physically in the yoga poses we'll be doing, we're going to be doing extension in the hips because when we're paralyzed, we're often sitting, that you're sitting maybe watching something, you have a computer, or you're watching, the news paralysis of getting hooked and watching or reading too much news. So that would involve flexion in your hips. So we're really going to move past doing flexion in the hips. There'll be minimal of that today. And this is then just a big counter pose to paralysis, to just a physical positioning that gets the energy moving. So as we begin here, you're going to go ahead and just lay on the floor. Because if you're sitting right now, the hips are in flexion. So we're going to do very little sitting today then in our practice. So go ahead and recline on your mat. And even extend your legs out if that feels okay for your lower back. Because when we get into extension, it's going to have an effect on your lower back. So you could lay down with your legs extended. And if that feels painful in your lower back, then you could bend your knees and keep your feet on the floor. So arms out to the side. I'm going to move with you. So this could be even a wise move of, if you're feeling that energy is low, just to shift your awareness in a different direction, is to lay on the floor. Like just go kaplop right on the floor. And it is suddenly, even your mind has a different perspective. Your body just has more space here. And it might just be the shift that you need. And then you add the breath. You just breathe into the chest, into the belly. Ah. And then reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Point your fingers up. Let the palms face in and start to reach your arms way up above your head. Reaching. And then bring the arms back up and take the arms all the way down alongside you. So let's do this waking up of your shoulders, arms. Reach the arms up above your head. Maybe move into like a great big body stretch here. Just get as long as you can. Keep moving the arms in a way that just feels really good, and how you're waking up the strength to do this. So if there's places that you're stuck, this is a real common word that's used in yoga, that this yoga practice helps you become unstuck in many ways. So it would be good to start with a very easy movements. And once you start this process of becoming unstuck, you just keep going, you keep moving and exploring. Now, keep the arms down alongside you and go ahead and bend the knees and just take feet on the floor. Now, this is hip flexion here, but it's not hip flexion anymore if we lift the butt away from the floor. So notice how that then opens in front of the hips. You could roll your shoulders under a little bit, but just move in and out of this. Like you're just starting to wake up that the work, the muscles that you need in order to practice hip extension or leg extension. So that would be then the whole back body that we wake up the glute muscles, the buttocks, the backs of the legs, your back muscles. Breathe through your nose. And you start to gradually really bring yourself into the present and into your body, just into this physical experience. Stay grounded. Let this be a very easy movement here in the beginnings. That wave of breath. Notice your whole spine here. So this is a good one to just stay with it for a while. Just keep going and feeling how this is such a counter pose to that congestion of non-movement in the hips. So as you let this go, you're going to bring yourself up to all fours. You can do this in any way that you come up here. And once you're on all fours, let's actually just let the spine move a little bit. So again, as a wake-up movement, cat and cow through your spine. Might be good to close your eyes because our paralysis often is due to kind of what I call like the log jam. Like there's a lot of clutter within. So as you close your eyes, this can help to soften around your eyes and even around your brain. Listening to your breath helps to bring your full attention here and start to clear out around your brain. And then physically, like just through your whole spine here. There's no need to push anything aside. Rather, it's just a redirecting, bringing full awareness to your body and feel a whole spine. And then as you pause, let's just take that more neutral spine, kind of tabletop, so even your head get just that right connection. Take the knees closer together and start to reach your right leg back. Let's start by tucking your toes under and get that toe stretch through the flexion of the toes, even the sole of the foot, your calf muscle. And then lift your navel as you're doing this. Make sure spine stays lengthened and open, and then just lift that right leg. Breathe. Circle your right foot around a few times while breathing. Nice full breath. So you're not holding your breath if things are flowing. And then right knee comes down, the left leg goes back. You just curl your toes under. Get that stretch, kind of wake up through your foot, your toes. Start to really straighten your leg, lift the navel. And then lifting the left leg up. As you lift the leg up, it's not a huge movement, but just make sure you don't suddenly drop your belly down. So we need that, that lifting up of the belly. But at the same time, breathing really free through your whole chest. Circle the foot around. So you can sense within, deep within, that paralysis, that breath by breath, you're kind of undoing that. Good. Go ahead and releasing, letting go. So we are going to move just briefly towards a down dog, but we're going to start with plank. So take the right leg back and then the left leg back, because this is more of the pose of extension through the legs, through the hips. So down dog, of course, is a bit of flexion. Go ahead and lift the hips way up. So down dog is not considered any extreme flexion in the hips. And what's really beautiful about it is, along with that extension, is the lengthening of the spine. You're actually not flexing your spine in down dog. So you are just lengthening out. Now go ahead and touch the knees back down again. And this time, taking your right foot, you're going to step your right foot forward. Now this low lunge position is a classic for deepening that leg extension through your back leg. So drop your left thigh down. And then start to lift up through your spine. And it's almost like an accident. Like as you lift up through your spine, you just happen to lift up away from the floor. But be sensitive if this feels like there's any pain here. Now, most of your weight is on your right leg, not back on your left knee. Reach the arms up like a stretch, like, just reaching up, and then let go. So just that brief coming up. Step back with that right leg. And then the left foot comes forward. And the back right leg, be very mindful of how that thigh drops down, how that feels. Breathing. Your hands can be on either side of that left foot, or they could both be on the right side. And you could just stay here. But as you push into that left foot, it gives you, then lift up through your spine, if that's okay. Feel that upward, that lifting. Arms reach up. And you let go. Stepping that left foot back. Move back to your plank pose. Close your eyes, just breathe here. Really firm legs. Just slightly chest is reaching forward. Make sure you're not suddenly just like clamping down internally. And then you can lightly touch your knees down and go right onto your belly. So belly work is actually great extension through your legs. Reach the legs back one at a time. Lift slightly to your cobra. Release down. Lifting, so draw your tailbone down. Draw your pubic bone towards the floor. Lower down. Just let this be a fluid lifting and lowering. Breathe and feel the space inside of your chest. it's good to take your hands wherever seems most supportive. Now I'm going to suggest as you're lifting to draw the elbows in. Keep the legs straight down. You're not rotating your legs. Now, next time you lift up here, you're going to go to a small Sphinx pose, which means your forearms come down. Your forearms might be really wide, like towards the edges of your mat. But Sphinx pose is great for that, that sense of lifting up through your spine and your chest reaching forward. You might even feel like your navel is kind of dragging forward here. And tailbone down. Breath, lift up through your spine. So make sure that this feels like a very moderate Sphinx pose, not a big giant back bend. So there's just lots of kind of wiggle room or space in your chest, your throat, mouth. And then as you let go, move right back towards down dog. Just lift. Keeping your down dog fairly wide, like the distance between your hands and your feet, pretty wide. So spine can really lengthen out here. And then just tippy toe forward, walk forward, and come all the way up to standing. Now, as you come up, one of the greatest poses, for practicing hip extension is standing up, is standing in your mountain pose. So it's not only a up and down, but a lot of mountain pose is that widening across your chest. So just take a moment to explore this. And then that little teeny area right around your hips. So you might feel like you're lifting up in front of your hips. Like, is there any flexion there? Lift up, drop your tailbone down. And then let's just do, pardon me. We're going to use the wall a little bit here just for stability and warm up that feeling of extending actively your leg back. This is like a warm up for Warrior 3 pose. So I'm going to get kind of not too close to my wall here, and you'll be able to adjust this. So I'm going to balance on my left leg so that my right leg can reach back. And I just want this feeling like 99% of my weight is on my bottom leg. And I'm just going to lightly touch the wall, but focus on reaching your back leg back. Notice if your belly drops if you suddenly go into a big back bend here. So that's why we're doing this, is we want to lift the navel. You might do that first, and then reach your leg back. Pull way back through your toes. Your right hip might lift and open a little bit, but you want to kind of disallow that. Reach, and then just switch so you come all the way up. So make sure you're not leaning into your wall, really. Balance on the right leg. Just reach that left leg back. So there's quite a bit of effort then to lift the leg, to make sure it doesn't really rotate and open, and to keep the navel lifted. So come on up and just do this back and forth to explore the length of your spine. It might almost feel like your legs are slightly internally rotating then, so that you're not allowing them to externally rotate and open. light. Now, as you pause here, just notice if for you, if that felt like it was hurting your lower back. All that is telling you is that you're going too far over, like trying to get parallel. So let's do just a few more of those and just don't go as far. Maybe you go halfway, like 45 degrees over, and really get that navel lift. And you might notice, oh, well, that makes sure that your lower back is not arching too much and you're not compressing your lower back. So smaller, more intentional movement. Good. And then just go ahead and let that go. And you're going to just move towards the front of the mat. We will go through Ascent Salutation. That does bring in poses where, naturally you're taking one leg back. So leg extension usually involves one side of the body. We'll start. Let's take palms together at the front of the mat. Lift up through your chest and then just sweep your arms up. And then take your arms out to the side and then step your left foot back. So we're in that big lunge, or sometimes called crescent pose, as we bring the arms up. As you straighten that back leg, so the left leg is in extension. Extending way back there. Lift your navel so you're not compressing your lower back. Take the arms out to the side again. And then drop the back foot. So this is the Warrior One pose. That a big part of this pose is that back leg, that extension. So make sure you can ground that back heel and straighten your left leg and lift your navel, bring the arms back up. Keep moving into that, reaching the back leg back and that lovely stretch in front of your left hip. Now reach the arms out to the side and just transition into a tree pose where you balance on your right leg. And now the right leg is in complete extension. There's no flexion at all. Just to feel that through your back leg, do that again. Left leg stepping back. Find your footing here. And create that big stretch and opening. Lift your front hip bones, arms come up. And then the arms go way out to the side. And as you fold forward, you're actually just going to go right back to your plank pose. So there's no flexion. You're going right into the extension of your plank. Breathe and feel smile here. Then as you lightly touch the knees down, you go right onto your belly. And here's our extension. Now these back bends, really important to stay connected. See how this feels for you today, because you're going to move back to your Sphinx. Now, if you take your arms closer, your elbows closer in, like your elbows more under your shoulders, this is going to demand the spine move into a deeper back bend. So mindful of that, lift the navel up, pull it forward. Stay connected. So we lift up through the crown of the head. So I like to do this one to really wake up, kind of ignite your back muscles, and then transition into your locust pose. So the elbows go out to the side a little bit and you lower about halfway down. And then just reach your arms back and lift your legs. Close your eyes and just feel kind of a floating here. Like really buoyant and lifting up. And then move towards your down dog, toes tucked under, but make sure spine stays lengthening. Give feet plenty of space apart and taking kind of this long dog, so the hands and feet wide apart. Hold the spine long. Lightly touch your knees down again and step that right foot forward. So here we go into this big low lunge. Make sure that back thigh stays down and just lift up here. Let's just kind of move through these. Touch your fingers back down. So you ground your right foot and you lift up. And then you come back down. Now you can do this in any way. You know, how much you really want to lift up here. Good. And then back foot tucks under and you're just going to step forward, come all the way up to standing. Push into your feet. Take palms together in front of your heart. Arms sweeping up. Arms go out to the side as you step your right foot back. Here's that high position, kind of high lunge, firm straight back leg. The more you straighten that back right leg, the more you lift the front, your hip bones lift up. You really feel like your back, your right knee is very firm and straight. Arms could come up again. Just feel space through your whole spine. And then as the arms go to the side again, you drop that back foot. So now the whole foot, that heel grounds down. You still work to lift the navel up. Arms coming up, full warrior one. Internally, there's that flow of breath. You're not holding or clamping down at all. And then you could take arms out to the side. You move to your tree pose. So now the left leg gets that full extension, no flexion at all. Breathe, feel your way into this. Where do your arms want to go? So there's that inner space. So it's like we continue to cultivate this feeling of unstuck, not obsessing or the mind getting stuck anywhere. And as you step back, that right foot back to your warrior one, could you ground right down? Maybe feel in front of that hip really open as the arms come up. Wave of breath moves into the body. And then as you let go of this, you just fold forward. You're going to go to your plank. Just stepping back. There's that work of plank. So tailbone in, strong legs, strong arms. Lightly knees touch down onto your belly. So we're going through that same little partnership here of your Sphinx. Please take your forearms wherever feels right. Keep grounding your tailbone down, the pull of your navel forward, chest forward. But in no way are the shoulder blades sliding up. So can you feel like shoulder blades down, neck lengthening? Breathe into the upper chest. So it can actually be good to lower out of it, like actually lower your chest and your head slightly. Or you could really keep this lift up through your spine as you just reach your arms back and your legs lift to your Shavasana. Staying connected by breathing and feeling. Moving slowly to your down dog. Lift. Hips come up. Lightly knees touch down, take that left foot, step it forward. And as you find just your position here, feel free to keep the hands down. Or as that back thigh drops down, you practice lifting up and then lightly touching. So doing this with real strength and stability as you lift and lower in and out of this. And then release. Back toes under, to down dog. And then again, you will touch your knees down here. So as you bring your knees down, though, you're going to lift up onto your knees. And here, now I just so happen to be on a rug, but if this surface is hard, you could fold your mat back because we are going to bring let's balance on your right leg and bring your left foot forward. So this is a great pose to really wake up the strength for leg extension. Because the moment you are on your knees here, the bend of the knees is going to shorten your quads, it's going to shorten your thigh muscles, and it's going to make you want to flex in your hips. So we got to wake up that counter action. Again, you could keep that left foot forward, and we're just working kind of on your right side. To lift your navel, you get that contracting of the lower abs, the dropping of your tailbone. Just to work so that the pelvis is really level and upright and your pelvis is not spilling forward. And then just staying here as you reach your arms out. So what a great counter pose here. Not only do you have no flexion in that right hip, But now there's space through your whole chest, and your head is lifted up. So you're not rounding it all. This is great, just a physical, spacious pose. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, bring the arms down, and just stay with this. Stay as steady as you can. But that steadiness isn't because you're gripping and tensing. We're practicing this fluid action of your arms while keeping a lot of space through your spine, through your throat and your mouth, space in your chest. And the energy radiating through your arms, through fingers. Eyes are calm. Keep getting as tall as you can get. And then arms stay down and bring that left knee down. And we'll switch sides. In a way, you're like balancing on your left leg as you take your left foot or right foot forward. So if we don't really pay attention here, you can really collapse down into this and actually compress through your lower back and in your left hip. So there's, when we're experiencing kind of a paralysis, there's a lot of compression that we can experience in the body. So as you lift up, lift your navel, you're actually kind of lifting up out of your left hip. And it just naturally goes right up through your spine. Arms go out. Really get that lift of the hips, the front hip bones. Balancing, bring the arms up. Lengthen through the sides of the body. And just make sure that you're not suddenly tensing your neck or your throat at all. So we sustain this now as you breathe and you move your arms. The inhaling up, the exhaling down. Not just a physical pose, but a deep awareness of freedom in the body. That freedom when there's more decompression rather than the compressing in the joints. It can take a lot of awareness. Keeping the arms down, just pause. Stepping back. And then if your mat was folded, you could unfold it. Move right back to your plank pose again. Just like, oh, legs straight now. Lift the hips up a little bit and come back up to standing. Just walk the feet, come all the way up. So you're going to just open to one side, and we're going to stay upright, but the legs wider apart. And once you take the legs wide apart, maybe notice again effort to lift the hips up, the front hip bones lifting up. Take the arms out to the side. And then bring the arms behind you. Interlace your fingers. Lift your toes a little bit and open the soles of the feet. You just feel the legs really straightening here. So very wide across your chest. Almost feel like your hands can sense the tailbone dropping down. Lift straight up through crown of the head and close your eyes here. Feel the inner space of mouth soft, throat really relaxed. Release your fingers and then just take the feet a little bit closer together. So in order to get to just a very intentional, deeper stretch through your quads, like through the front of the hips here, let's go to the wall and just take a variation of tree pose. So you'll take your right hand, let's just have right hand lightly touching, balance on your right leg, and then you're just going to grab your left foot. So technically, there's two things you can do with your hand. You can grab what I'm just going to call your outer foot. Or this can be better for your shoulder, is to actually externally rotate your arm so your thumb is pointing back, and then grab your inner foot, that arch of the foot. So if that feels okay, please do it that way. And right away, you will be able to kind of get a read on your hip flexors. So if you have tight hip flexors, your knee will want to go forward because it's really tight. You want to flex here. So we're practicing extension. So you're going to reach your knee down towards the floor. And in order to do that, you are using your hamstrings. Have to kind of contract to do that. So just finding like whatever amount of stretch feels okay. Now this might then cause that compression in your lower back. So what do we have to do? We have to lift the navel up. Really lifting the front hip bones. As you do that, your knee might move forward. So you reach your knee down. Tall and lifted. And then slowly releasing, foot lightly down. Now, just so you know, when you do that, it kind of doesn't look like a lot, but that is a really deep stretch for the quads, and the quad muscles are attached around your knee. So you might feel this like around the knee joint. So don't be surprised. Switch sides, balance on the left leg. And then right arm externally rotates so the thumb points back. And if that creates a lot like pain or discomfort, of course, you can hold the outer foot instead. But just make sure you don't start like sinking your chest down here. So let's go through this. Straighten your bottom leg, your left leg. And as you're straightening, you lift your navel so we don't spill the pelvis forward. Pelvis level. And then as you start to reach that right knee down, Now keep in mind that, having tight hip flexors, that can be due to, even if there's a certain, exercise, like if you bike a lot and you're in that hip flexion a lot, um, yeah, it doesn't mean that you're a sedentary person or anything. It's really easy to have tight hip flexors. Wide across your chest, really lift up here, and then releasing. And as that foot comes down, so we're going to go onto the floor. We're going to play with one pose that I don't bring up a lot, but I'm going to do this variation in a way that you don't need props. So usually you would use either a stack of blankets or even a yoga bolster. So we're going to sit like this. Knees are forward, and this one may or may not be for you. But as soon as you sit like this, you're sitting and dropping between your heels. You are not sitting on your heels. Okay? So you open the heels apart a little bit, but then go ahead and lean back. And as you lean back into your hands, draw your heel bone up, like really lift up. So here again, now the knees are really bent. This is kind of what we were just doing at the wall. And you have to actively lift that tailbone. And as you lean back here even more, you could stay here. This is extension in your arms also, by the way, because your arms are behind you. Lift your chest. And then maybe onto your elbows. Now can be a lot of sensation, really keeping that tailbone lifted up, but even briefly. And I know you are lifting your head here. Moves into that next level of stretch through the quads. Notice if you lift back up, keep that lift of the tailbone. Coming back up. And then as you let this go, we will take the legs forward. Take your feet wide apart. And we'll just do the dropping back and forth of the knees. So very loose. And this is one of my favorite twists then, where you're moving into a twist, but there is minimal hip flexion. In fact, a good way to play with this as you're just letting the knees drop back and forth is to bend your knees even more. Like as you bend your knees and bring your feet kind of up towards your hips, if you drop to one side, it's a really different feeling. And then if you go up and over, again with the knees more bent. Now go back so that your knees are dropping over towards your right, and then really lift your left hip. Let's move into that twist. So we have to lift the chest, lift the navel a little bit, lengthen your spine, and start breathing, twisting. We haven't done a lot of twisting, so gently lengthen, breathe, feel. Breathe way down to your belly. So as you're rotating back here, Again, you can choose to stay up on your hands, or maybe that bottom that inner right elbow drops down. Just make sure that you don't suddenly like collapse here, that your chest doesn't sink in, and you're able to lengthen through your spine as you're here. And as you breathe into this, the body will tell you. Making sure your legs, your feet are relaxed. Maybe close your eyes because we're going to take some breaths now around your belly button. Exhale and pull your navel in. Inhaling, releasing it out. And do that actively, kind of churning that area in your abdomen. And then releasing, untwisting as you come back towards the front. You could just take a couple back and forth with your knees. Just drop loose back and forth. And then as you move to your left. So as you drop the knees to the left, you lift your right hip. You really could explore how much you're bending your right knee. Like that could affect like this quad stretch through the right leg. And sometimes it just feels good with a deeper bend of the knee, like, But you do now have to lift your navel as you twist. And decompress through your lower back. Little at a time, twisting. Breathing, twisting. Just to notice the difference as you're lifting your navel and lengthening your lower back. That will be easier if you start to straighten the right leg. So just notice for your body, it's a good one to play with, how much you're bending the right knee. Now remember, it's all about the twisting. So make sure you can lengthen your spine, twisting. If it makes sense to really lean back and drop left elbow down, as long as you can maintain the space here. Breathe now around your belly button, letting that move so you can feel your lower back. Part of why we do that is not only that cleansing and churning in the belly, but to feel your lower vertebra, that they are happy. Gradually untwist. Come on up. As you move towards the front, just a little flopping back and forth the knees. So we are going to end up with one variation of um, Pavana Muktasana where you're laying on your back, but if you can, find an area where your bottom leg can be on the wall. I'm just going to rotate and just practice this way so you can see. I'm going to lay on the floor where you're going to bring your right knee, kind of drawing into your chest, but the left foot, that bottom leg, your foot is on the wall, and that you're really pressing your left heel and the sole of that left foot into the wall. And it really gets a sense of length and extension through your bottom leg. And just that nice alignment where your sole of your foot is really open. So find a connection through your left leg, your left foot, and then just gradually bring the right knee into the chest. Breathe into your belly. Let's play a little bit with straightening the right leg. And then bending it again. Maybe open that right knee out towards the side a little bit more. Let the right leg open. And just make sure mouth and throat are really relaxed here. Straighten the right leg again. Bend and open that knee out to the side. Keep that left leg engaged and just explore that pressing left foot into the wall. Keep the whole spine lengthened all the way up to your brain. Even just rotate your right foot around. Can you breathe down to the belly or breathe around your chest? Just lots of space. Go ahead and switch legs. So right foot on the wall, left knee comes up. Open the sole of that right foot. Keep that leg extending. Not getting tight as you do this. Space around your chest. Even a little lift of your breastbone. And straighten the left leg. Just explore like, oh, both legs really straightening out. Bend the left knee again. Let that knee open out to the side. Grow the right leg. Keep your throat really soft and open here. Straighten left leg again. Just explore that. As you bend the left knee, rotate your left foot around. Good. And then as you let this go, maybe shift back so you're just laying on your mat. We'll take one final little fluid action like we started, where you're moving in and out of your bridge pose. Let's just see how this feels. We've really warmed up this whole action. So push into your feet, lift up, maybe explore kind of a blossoming of your bridge pose. Draw your tailbone up. So that's very crucial here. That's going to open the hips into the extension with no flexion. Lower down. And do this according to your lower back. Like close your eyes, just lift and lower in and out of this. This might move into, more of that domed bridge pose. Nostrils really open. Throat really soft. Eyes relaxed. And then next time you're down, you can stay down. Let yourself move into Shavasana. As you extend your legs out here, now there's this extension without any effort. So why laying on the floor is in itself is a restorative pose. So moving into stillness here. Knowingly. If the body still feels kind of tight, you might actually just roll your head side to side a little bit. Just feel like I'm dropping my head. If your lower back feels tender at all, you can always practice with your knees bent or drape your legs over some pillows or blankets. Just knowingly moving into stillness. Let your face soften now. Almost a draining of any tension on your face. What does it feel like to soften your forehead? Draining any tension, any effort to the point where the body actually is feeling heavier, heavier, heavier. Practice, keep letting go. If the crowd of thoughts comes in, just bring awareness to your breath. Just feel like get really interested in this movement of air in your nostrils. Just Be really clear. Right now, I'm bringing all of my attention to my body or to my breath. I love bringing awareness to the energy centers. So you could bring awareness to your forehead. And then imagine the space right at the center of the skull. And then bring awareness to your throat center. Bring awareness to the center of your chest. Bring awareness to your solar plexus, just right around your navel center. Bring awareness to the center of your pelvis. And right down to the very base, the floor of the pelvis. And then which of those areas felt the most congested or numb? And bring your awareness back there. And bring your full attention there. Breathe there. Really awakening that space. Let it flow. Open. But in an expression of generosity, of giving freely, you're just giving your full attention to this space. Without any agenda or needing it to change, you're just there. So knowingly letting go of Shavasana, bringing yourself up to seated, or you can stay laying on the floor if that feels appropriate. But as we close, I will answer maybe an obvious question or comment is that we do very naturally spend a lot of time sitting, or you might have to do this like for your job or so one idea then is to keep energy flowing as you're sitting. So you might explore then the actual position, your chair you're sitting in, how you're sitting, and that having a body, it does require some work. You know, happiness requires work. It doesn't accidentally happen, especially these deeper states of happiness. So may we continue then to stay connected, take care of ourselves, and in this way we really take care of others in the world. Close with the sound of Om. Deep inhale. Deep gratitude. Thank you for doing this work.